Well, you know, let's work our way up from the troublesome to the fantastic. Well, you know what? Having now completed my go-through of Christopher Eccleston's run, Series 1 of the revised Doctor Who, you know, all of the Ninth Doctor's televised episodes, I think it's worth revisiting my ranking of these stories, because it's been a long time since I did that. And how now, having done a rewatch of them, this list is a little bit different than it had been previously. So I didn't actually go back and check to see how many of these moved around, shifted places, but I know a few of them are. And I'm also going to be doing them the same way that I actually did the episodes, which means that I am breaking up Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways, but I am keeping The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances in one as one story. Don't think that makes any sense? Tough. It's my list. So this is actually going to be a ranking of 11 episodes or stories or what have you. So we'll just do the way I normally do it. Start at the bottom, work our way up. Number 11, The Long Game. It's just got the fewest redeeming features at the end of the day. Basically, it's got Simon Pegg and a couple of interesting ideas, like the concept of, you know, this high pursuit of journalism and that lying is a crime that it doesn't do anything with. And that's one of the things that can really frustrate me about Doctor Who, when it takes something that is an idea that could totally carry its own episode, but it's like a side note in an episode that's about something that's not nearly as interesting. That happens from time to time, and I feel like it does that here. So that's frustrating. And like, this is one of the few times that I feel like Eccleston didn't really get a chance to shine. I don't think he gives a bad performance, but he just isn't given a heck of a lot to do in this particular one. Adam Mitchell is annoying. And like I said, I mean, I like Simon Pegg, but then ultimately we're stuck with a mouth in the ceiling as the main bad guy. Just, skip it. So, number 10, and I know I'm going to get grief for this, Bad Wolf. Unlike The Long Game, this has more redeeming value, although for me, it's basically all in the last 10 minutes, because the first half hour is eaten up with the reality and game show parodies, and I'm sorry, guys. Look, I get that some people like them more. I get that they work better for some people. Like, I get it. I hate them. I'm not saying you have to hate them, but I hate them. I didn't think they were funny at the time. I think they're even less funny now. So that first 30 minutes being stuff that I really don't want to watch makes this a slog for me, basically right up until it gets into the home stretch where it's setting up the next episode, which is why I have to break it, which is why when I did the episode by episode reviews, I did, and why now here I'm separating it from The Parting of the Ways, because if I lump them together, it really does just end up in this weird middle place, because one of them I like, one of them I really don't. So, again, I recognize Bad Wolf is not devoid of good features, and the things that I don't like, other people do like. Cool. Awesome. I still hate it. Sorry, I do. So, moving up and away from that, number 9, The Unquiet Dead. Again, this is mainly a case of not so much a ton of bad elements as it is not all that many great elements. I mean, the best thing going on here is Eccleston's performance. He gets some of his better sort of alien moments. Like, especially I love when Rose is saying, you know, you can't just use dead bodies to house alien spirits. And the Doctor's like, why not? It's the ultimate recycling, because he doesn't have that human attachment to the body of a deceased person. So it makes sense that he's approaching this from an angle that humans kind of find distasteful, but makes a heck of a lot of sense because he doesn't have that emotional attachment. So he gets a lot of good little moments like that. The performance of the guy who plays Charles Dickens, he's also quite good. It's a little bit gimmicky, but it's probably one of the better appearances of a famous historical figure, all things considered. I mean, the overall story, though, is just kind of fine. It's there. It's fine. It's very meh as an episode. It's not bad. It's not great. So moving up a slot from there, that will take us to number 8, Father's Day. This is actually up, I'm pretty sure, from where I had it previously, because I've been on the record as really not liking Father's Day. And what I have come to acknowledge is the things that I have never liked about Father's Day, I still don't like about Father's Day. The primary one being the Reapers. I think the literalization of the paradox through the Reapers was completely unnecessary and stupid and undermines it. I think the emotional moments lose their impact when you cut away to a CGI monster outside the church going, "Rah!" I think they actively undermine the things that work. What I now have to acknowledge, which was something I wasn't giving the episode its due for back when I did my last ranking of this, is that the stuff that works better than I was giving it credit for. The stuff that's bad is still bad, but the stuff that is good is a lot stronger than I was giving it credit for previously. And that pretty much all surrounds Pete. Pete is a really great performance, and his interactions and his chemistry, his performance chemistry with Rose is really terrific. And the Doctor has some really nice nuanced moments as well, and Rose does pretty well. Like, the emotional core of this is really good. The logistical way that it plays out took, in my mind, some major missteps, and it ends up, you know, kind of landing here as a result of that. So moving up from there, number 7, Rose. Again, the things that are good are great. And top of the list here, Eccleston. Like, I fell in love with his Doctor so soon into this. Like, basically, as soon as he shoos Rose out of the department store and sort of pops back out and goes, "I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?" "Rose Tyler." "Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life." Like that. Oh, that was the moment I was like, yes, I love this guy. And he's terrific. He is the major hook into this. The extended bits with, you know, Rose sort of meeting the guy who, like, has been tracking the Doctor and things like that, and you know, the whole use of the Nestine and the Autons is fine, it's functional, but the highlight is very much the Doctor himself. And the other stuff is just sort of there. It's not dragging it down, but it's not elevating it up all that much either. So that brings us to number 6. Aliens of London and World War III. This is another highly frustrating viewing because, honestly, stuff that works is great. As much as I hate the farting, both as a thing in and of itself, yes, I get it. Politicians are bloated gas bags. Ha, 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 ha. But as much as I hate the farting and how much of it there is, especially at a few points in here, I do think the performances of the people playing the Slitheen are actually quite good and quite intimidating. And they do a lot to bring that menace into their performance. The baby-face look of the actual creatures doesn't quite work. Like, I get what they were going for, but I don't think it comes together. But at the same time, Harriet Jones is great, the Doctor is great, Rose is great. It's got one of my favorite moments in the entirety of Series 1, which is the Doctor saying just information, and, you know, Rose and Harriet Jones just telling him things, going, narrows it down, narrows it down, narrows it down. But at the same time, then again, I don't really love the stuff with Jackie and Mickey. I don't think it added a lot, and those aren't characters that, at least at this point in the series, I really cared about, and what happens with them here didn't build towards my liking them later on in the show. None of that's based off what little they get to do here. So again, it's a mix of really good and then some not so good moments, and then it's a question of how does that balance? Where does this thing land overall? This is where it is. So that brings us now safely into the upper half of Series 1. So we get to number 5, Boomtown, which is an episode that I kind of always had a soft spot for, and I feel very validated on, having now rewatched it, because honestly, up until like the very tail end, because the conclusion is kind of rushed, but up until like the last 5-8 minutes, I think it's really solid. I like the dynamic of the Doctor, Rose, Jack, and sort of Mickey trying to figure out how this fits into his life. I enjoy all that. I love the interaction between the Doctor and the one remaining Slitheen. I think that is phenomenal. The scene at the restaurant especially is great. And the stuff that is good is really good. I know that it takes a big hit from people by its association with the Slitheen, which I know a lot of people don't like as villains, and I've already expressed my own issues with them. But there is a lot of this episode that does work, even though it has a very rushed and weird conclusion to it. So we get up to number 4, The End of the World. I really do like this episode, and I have an awful lot of fun with it. I love how bonkers the show got in its second episode in terms of, look, okay, fine, we're not even gonna leave the orbit of the Earth, but we're still going to make this really alien. We're going to give you this little tiny blue guy. We're going to give you the walking, talking trees. We're going to give you a giant face in a jar. We're going to give you a flattened slab of skin that proclaims itself to be the last living human being. Like, I love that level of weirdness all gets crammed into this one episode. I enjoyed that quite a bit overall. And I feel like the progression of the threat is done pretty well. I like Cassandra as a villain. The Doctor gets great moments. Rose has some really nice and sweet moments in it as well. I just think this is one of those good sort of, I think of them as the rip-roaring episodes. You just sort of get in and yeah, let's go. It's a fun little romp of an episode, and when those are done well, I really enjoy them, and I really enjoy this. So that brings us up to number 3. The Parting of the Ways. I mean, this kind of shows you what I mean by how much this would have gotten dragged down if I kept it paired with Bad Wolf, because I really like The Parting of the Ways a lot. I love the Dalek Emperor. I love the booming authority in that voice. I love the buildup of the threat of the Daleks. I like, Jack sort of being annoyed with them is like, I wish I'd never met you. I'm now trying to do the right thing and it's going to get me killed. And so, I mean, I like that dynamic. I love the hologram, the moment of the hologram telling Rose, I'm sending you home because I'm going to die. Have a good life. Like, that's a terrific moment. There are a couple of things that ding it. I think the using the truck to open up the TARDIS is a little bit of a wonky moment and kind of goes on too long. I neither love the line, I think you need a doctor, and I really don't like the use of a kiss for him to pull the TARDIS energy out of Rose, so I'm not a fan of that. But then again, the Doctor's actual goodbye when he knows he's regenerating, he explains it, but it's simple, it's to the point, it's not massively dragged out. I like that quite a bit. And I really do think that this episode ends Eccleston's run on a very strong note. On our way up to the top 2, and these should not be surprises, either one. But number 2, Dalek. The initial reintroduction of the Daleks to Doctor Who. How do you convince a whole new generation of fans that this rolling trash bin with a plunger on the end of it is scary? This is how. You take one, only one, and you show how dangerous it is, how single-minded it is, how hateful it is. And you show how it brings the worst out of the Doctor. And since at this point you already know and like the Doctor, seeing that darkness be brought out of him also ups the whole thing, because you're going, oh my God, how horrible are these things that they are making this guy that we love act like that. And when I did my review of the episode, I said that I thought some of Eccleston's anger performance was a little off. I should have been much more specific. When he's in the cage with the Dalek, I think it's a little off, but I do blame part of that on the editing. I think the whole moment where he says that he destroyed the Time Lords and the Daleks. He said, I watched it happen. I made it happen. There's a really weird cut where in the middle of that line it cuts to the Dalek's perspective and then cuts out of it. It's a weird cut that it makes the moment really awkward. But there's like another part of that that's like a little off in terms of the emotional transition. But when it's the Doctor yelling at the Dalek over the TV monitor, and he's yelling at it and it builds up to the, why don't you just die? Like, that's awesome. So, like, when I did that nitpick, I should have specified, like, how specific I was about that. But seriously, other than that moment, this is just a phenomenal episode. Top to bottom, well constructed, terrific way to really show us why these things are so dangerous, why they are the Doctor's greatest enemy, using only one of them. It's great stuff. Not my favorite though, and if you've been with this channel for any amount of time at all, should be no surprise. #1 episode of Eccleston's run, #1 episode of Series 1 has got to be The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. I love this so much. Like, everything. Absolutely everything about this I love to death. Eccleston is giving a phenomenal performance. I love the gas mask look, and like, it is suitably creepy, and it's just otherworldly enough, yet the child is behaving in a way that's like, something's off, but I don't know what, because like, a child would wear that in this time period. And the introduction of Jack as a con man, he's great. Rose has terrific chemistry with basically everybody in the room, and the creepiness of it, and building to that gloriously triumphant moment of everybody lives. And yes, I know the power of that has been diluted with time, given how irritatingly common that became. The Doctor saving everybody should be the exception. The idea that it's the exception is the reason this scene works. And later series of Doctor Who really made it feel like most of the time he saves everybody, and only sometimes he doesn't save somebody. And that dilutes this moment. But when you look at this moment in isolation, and you look at it in Series 1, the way Eccleston sells it, the way it's built up to, his desperation at going up to take the gas mask off of this child and go, let me have a day like this. Give me this one. Like, you feel he needs this to go right so bad, and it is a gloriously triumphant moment. I love it so much. And the entire two-parter building up to this amazing climactic moment is a terrific run in and of itself. So it nails the atmosphere, the setup, the build-up, the payoff. This is the complete package. I love this two-parter. And in my opinion, it's the best story for the Ninth Doctor. That's my now newly redone list. What are your thoughts on it? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff you can do, because there's buttons and links. You can go check out my Patreon if you feel like supporting me that way. I'd appreciate it. But you know what? Even if you don't, not going to hold it against you. There's other links to check out. Don't even want to do that? That's fine too, because at the end of the day, folks, you are the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.